Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the November 7th meeting of the Board of Sewer Commissioners. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:30. Have a roll call.
Sandy Slavin.
Donna Bronk.
Peter Dunlop.
Jim Gibberti. We have minutes, let's see, for the meeting of October 24th.
Happy birthday to me.
I have reviewed the minutes, and I make a motion we accept them as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0-0. I also have minutes here from the joint meeting that we had with the sewer commissioners in Bourne on the 4th.
And, Mr. Chair, I did correct 3 boo-boos on it, and I have a corrected document for signature. So for your note, I did spell Mr. Gibberti's name correct.
On that document?
On the new minutes
new
I
piece?
have. I found Glenn's last name is Cannon, and I have no idea how my distribution for Affordable Housing Trust made it in the middle of these minutes. So if you're looking at
Yeah, I see that, okay.
this line in there that starts with S. Sui, those are my Affordable Housing Trust distribution. So that has been removed from the master.
Okay, so
I
we
think
just
it
cross that
covered it
out.
right in the very beginning, snoozy.
I was gonna go through all of them, because I didn't know what they were. Well, maybe that's something to do with the Bourne thing. I was gonna get ready to go through them, so I was,
No.
Thank you.
I have no idea how they got pasted in the middle of the document, but I made 3 corrections to the minutes, and I have the master for signature.
Okay, do I have a,
I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the 11/4/19 meeting with the Town of Bourne.
all in favor? Second, first of all.
Second, Sandy?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's 3-0-1.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Right. 3-0-1. While we're on these minutes, people, I'm going to skip down to new business because it's in these minutes. We may as well go forward from there. And that being the recommendation that we have a subcommittee from both boards to review the IMA. Subcommittee to consist of 2 people from each board. So I'm looking for volunteers from this board on who wants to be on it.
I do.
Okay. Donna? Sandy, I didn't think so.
Well, I'll definitely do it, but I'll need some help, because I haven't seen the IMA, or, and I've only heard about all the problems it's got. I mean,
It's 10 years old.
Well,
Donna, what?
what I plan on doing,
Oh, that's
what
kind of-
I would plan on
Go.
doing is sitting down with that man right there. Because he knows it inside, outside, upside down.
Okay, but that's the existing.
Exactly. But, Peter, if you were you weren't at the board meeting, they're questioning a lot of things.
Yeah.
So
Jimmy said
we
he had
need.
4 pages worth.
We have 5 pages worth. I think we need to get our own stuff together that we feel is not being taken care of. And because I don't want to sit there like a blind duck getting shot. And that's what I felt like the other night. I really did.
Okay, but just a second now. You're talking about straightening out the existing IMA. I thought we were writing a new one.
We are,
I'd rather
well,
write a new one.
we are going to write a new
Well,
one.
I think then you ought to treat it at 2 separate problems. Write the new one, write it the way you want it, and then go back and correct.
Well, no,
If there's money's due or money's payable,
I
deal
agree with you.
it.
No, I agree with you there. But I guess my question is going to be, are we going to get to write it anyways?
I would say understand what we have and then modify it and corrected.
Thank you.
Understand what we have.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's why we need him.
And by knowing what we have, we can move forward with a amended one that solves, that corrects.
Guy, are you willing to work with?
Andy.
Not a problem, not a problem, through you, Mr. Chairman. Also, his questions, and I haven't seen them, but remember, we have two sets of CPAs, been going at it for a couple of years now, maybe a little bit longer. And these meetings with the CPAs created questions that were not even in the IMA, things that they thought the IMA should include, shouldn't include, and some of the accounts and all that good stuff. So you're really gonna need all the documents from both the CPAs too, because that will lead to all the questions they're asking. And so I'll dig up all the correspondence that I have,
It's gonna be a big thing.
because there's a big
And
discrepancy.
this is just not calculating Bourne's percentage, it's all the other stuff in
Have
it.
enough time with the other one?
Yeah,
on when
within,
we do
absolutely.
it.
Within the IMA, they're challenging things like distribution. So what percent are they really accountable for and all that good stuff. So that's, I think, what
The
Mr.
numbers in
Potter's
the
coming
formula
from.
is another whole level, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And so the numbers some of the numbers that were presented were out of that realm. And so I think once you understood it, and get all the documents from the CPAs, apply it, and then you guys can make a better decision how you want to
Would you
proceed.
rather
So
do it?
we'll supply all that stuff.
I'll do it. I mean, I've got the time to do it if you don't want to.
I mean,
I'm just
I-
looking,
I'm
you're gonna
per-
be tough in time. That's all I'm concerned about.
I'm perfectly willing to do it, but believe me, I got an awful lot of questions before I'd even, I get a lot of questions before I can ask a decent question.
I know, it's a feeling.
That's fine. And whoever's on it, you
Now,
can
and if
spend
you want me
time.
to do it, and-
I'll present it,
and if
you
you
see
and
it,
Mac
and you
would
make
rather
your
do it,
own.
well, that's okay
decide
by me.
Whatever you want to do. I could, whatever, that's your decision.
If you want me to help Donna do the research and so forth, and then
I'll do it.
what are you planning on doing as far as,
Well, I was planning on having some meetings.
How often?
During the- Right now, probably 1 or 2 a week.
what day?
I was hoping if a Wednesday was okay, or on a Friday, or any other late afternoon I can do it, but usually Wednesdays I don't work anyway, so I can
Well-
work on it.
This charter review, we're gonna be at it every Monday.
Oh, so you're working on the charter review?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot on your plate, my friend.
There's gonna be a hell of a lot on that. That's
You
what
got
I
a
was
lot on
concerned
your
about.
plate.
Donna and Jimmy?
Yeah.
Donna and Jim, sorry, no more Jimmy.
Yeah,
Either one.
and we
I answer to
can,
both.
and we'll keep all of you abreast, because
Oh, yeah,
we
definitely.
would
You know,
definitely want you.
I was looking at the minutes here, and Jim Potter expressed concern that their prior TA not be involved.
That's what's my question to him.
That was my question. What's the question?
Guy,
Sorry?
answer his question. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't
So,
step out of line.
Just
Do
on
we-
that line,
Do
to
we
you,
want
Mr.
this
Chairman,
now?
it's all it says. Do we want?
It's all it was Mr. Potter had a concern of a conflict of this prior TA setting rates and stuff like that, of which Bourne has to pay a percentage of. And he was concerned about a conflict. That's all that was said.
So that's there. That's what, it
Okay,
is what it is.
I make a motion that Donna and Jim become our representative in the subcommittee to review the IMA.
Do I have a second?
What was your motion?
I make a motion that Donna and Jim become members of the subcommittee to review the IMA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4 zippy. All righty. This is gonna be fun, Donna.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Now, can anybody observe?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned,
It's
I don't have
open.
a
it's
problem.
open, absolutely.
Yeah, what happens if a person, you're gonna have to find a way of posting it as a meeting, because you'll have a majority there. You'll have,
If we have
Not
three,
just
we don't have
observer.
if we have,
You're still there. I
You're
think
still there.
You're still there, you can't.
if you ask a question,
You have to
you're,
post it.
you're not in a, it has to
We
be
have to post
posted.
it.
That's why I asked.
well,
Good thinking, Peter. You're
You can't
absolutely right.
participate.
ask one or the other at a different point.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, should there be an alternate if someone can't make it? Maybe Peter could be the alternate in the event that you couldn't make it or
It
Donna
wasn't
couldn't
so
make
much
it?
that, I just wanted to hear,
What's being said?
Yeah.
I think you can get a clarification from our attorney or even ethics, but I believe if you're in the audience, you don't participate, you're not part of the quorum.
But if you ask one
Right,
question,
you can't participate, that's right, you can't ask questions, you can't get involved. So if you're, in other words, if the meeting was here, for example, and then all they're up to the four, they're just debating, because remember, it's not a meeting, So there's no open meeting law violations. So you're here in the stands like Russ, and all of a sudden you pipe in and say, hey, about this, now you have a violation because you do have a quorum. 3 is a quorum out of 5, it's a quorum. So now you have an issue. So if you're sitting back there, you just got to be a bump in the log and just take
while
notes.
all of that may be true, that would only be true if it was a meeting.
It becomes a meeting once you become involved. That's the open meeting laws.
That's the problem.
Once you say something, it becomes a meeting.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. So if you observe, you're good. You can sit and take notes and everything and say nothing and get all the notes and know what's going on. You just can't participate. Then at the meeting that you guys have, then you can participate openly with all your meeting and all that. So that's all I'm saying. And if you're like me, and it'll be difficult to sit there and say, then maybe you don't go.
Yeah, well, I'd screw that up the
You know,
first
maybe
day.
you don't go. So that's.
Okay, we'll leave it at this for the moment. We'll get a meeting or two underway and report back and see where we're at and if we have to make adjustments. That sound reasonable?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, charging right along.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
I will gladly act as the alternate.
Okay. Beautiful,
That's great.
wonderful. Thank you. Okay, sewer business, we have contracts. Wright Pierce?
would you like to bring Russ up?
No,
Not yet?
Okay.
he didn't bring the
He didn't
cookies.
bring-
anyway.
yeah, he's-
Okay, no cookies, so no.
No, he's
So he has to sit.
strict rules.
Okay.
He's got strict rules, and I'm not gonna. I thought Russ was aware of them, but I guess he isn't, I guess.
Okay, he's slow
In fact,
on.
I think he got moved down to just before adjournment. I'm not so sure, but we'd have to look at that to be sure.
Are you in a rush, Russ? Sure? Okay. All right, Wright Pierce,
Now, I have a problem with this document. There are 2 contracts attached, but 2 different amounts.
One's a
Neither of-
contract, one's an addendum.
Neither one is the 95600 that's noted at the top of the front page.
I don't know what you, let me just go, let me
Oh,
go to the
I
contracts.
see, what you're saying right here, yeah.
Yeah, but I have one here.
Yeah.
The very first one, it talks about 95.6, and then I have an amended number 1.
That's right.
What's the amendment? What did it amend?
What it did, it's an amendment for 97,000. So what we're doing, just.
It
for cl-
confused me.
Okay, and that's, no problem. We have in our budget this year, $100,000 to do the engineering of the force main down Minot Ave. So that's number 1. That's your contract for $95,600. We have an article with $115,000 in it to do an assessment and evaluation of the force main. That's the second one at $97,000. Why are we separating? Because there's 2 different allocations of funds. So you know where the funding's coming from.
Yeah, but these contracts don't tell us where the funding is coming
Well,
from.
I'm telling you, the contract, when the engineers give us contracts, they don't know where the money's coming
Okay,
from. That's
so there's
us.
one contract for
97,000.
95,600.
95.6.
95.6. Where's that money coming from?
That money's coming from our 2020 capital budget.
2020 capital budget, okay.
Okay, and then there's another one for,
The amendment,
Amendment for
$97,000, which is to do, and so this one here, and they have different scopes, and this one here specifically to talk about the geotech and the probing and the soil probing through the river, because we're looking to directional drill the force main from Minot, so that's what this
so
one.
does the other one.
Well, the other one,
They're A, B, C, D
Yeah,
are
it's-
exactly the same. Are they not?
Well, there's differences if you
Okay,
look at them.
all
There
right.
certainly are.
So the other one for 97,000, where's that coming from?
That fund is coming from the town meeting article for $250,000 with a balance of $117,000, 115, 117.
It's a town meeting
Article.
article. For what? The total amount was what? 250,000?
Yes, but we used some of it, and we left the balance of 115, if you remember correctly, because we used it to assess the pipe on Minot Ave. We did the scope and did all that good stuff. We dug up holes, and we did the one down
So
at the
we
pump
have
station.
So we have 115 left.
That's right. And so out of that 115, we're going to take the 97.
Okay.
I have a Narrows Force main for 100,000 that was done in spring 19.
It was taken out of a $250,000 town meeting article.
Could very well be, but
It
in
was.
spring 19 had 100,000 for the Narrows Force main.
And that's the one right here.
90K for repairing manholes,
No, the two-
38 manholes, lining the pipes at Smith's for 300,
yes.
and 2 generators for 500. That's all out of spring 19.
No, that's out of spring 2020. That's out of, well, yeah, it's out of our 2020 budget.
Could very well be, but it
It
was
is.
done in the spring 2019 town meeting.
So so that's the one, the 95.6, that 100,000 that you're speaking of is our 2020 capital budget.
Yeah, okay, yes.
So that's where that comes. So that's that. Put that away.
That's the 95.6.
That's
yeah.
right. So,
Then
no-
what, the 135,000 out of the 250,000?
that's right. We have a balance of the 250,000 town meeting article to do the pipe, to assess and evaluate the pipeline. We have a balance of 115,000. Out of that 115, we're going to spend 97
Okay.
to complete the assessment.
So the inspection of the force main for 250,000, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
That was fall 2016.
Well, it's a town meeting article,
But-
it's still
but
there.
I'm
As a
just-
balance.
I'm just trying to, so that there's a balance remaining, which is this 97's coming from.
That's right.
Yeah, the
Sorry,
150
just trying to get the
So
numbers.
what did we spend the $135,000 on?
I think we did the assessment. There's a document that we circulated. They did an electronic scan of that pipe, of the 18-inch pipe. They did the scan at the Minot Ave part of the pipeline, and they did it just before the Minot School. We had dug up a 10-foot section of pipe, exposed it.
Oh, yeah, that
And then
was
we
great.
analyzed it, and it says that pipe has between 60 and 70 to 90% wear in certain points in the whole 9 yards. So they wrote a report and said, we need to get this done within 5 years, get it going. So that's that.
Okay.
And we did the same thing down here at the pump station, and that was a little bit better. That was like 40 to 60% there somewhere. And so we know that that's not as bad as up at the other end, because that's the high point. And we also know that the air relief valve it's dangerous to look at, let alone touch it. And so we know we have an issue. So we had a balance in that monies, because originally we were going to do it for $250,000.
Yeah.
That town meeting article is carrying I believe it's $115,000, which will expend the 97 out of that 115. So that's where
Okay.
that funding is
So
coming
this
from.
That'll
money
give
has
us-
already been approved.
Absolutely, it's approved now.
Already approved, so all we're doing is just ratifying the fact that you're gonna
Right.
spend the
spend
97
it.
out of that
Right.
balance. The other is a new expenditure, the
Right.
95.6 is a new expenditure.
Yes, and it's right, and it's in our 2020 budget.
This is
It's
a
budgeted
separate
for it.
budget item, okay. All right, so
Okay.
it's,
I got you now. You clarified it good,
got the
very well
right, the
for
right
me.
Pierce budget for 95.6.
Yes.
So do we have to get a motion to?
Yes, for this one I need a motion.
Okay.
So we're only, which one are we doing? The 95.6?
95.6.
We're not doing the
95.6.
97?
I make a motion that we, I lost my place. I make a motion that we approve the contract with Wright and Pierce in the amount of $95,600 from the 2020 capital budget plan.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500. You're an aye, Peter? This other one, the money has already been approved. All we're doing is ratifying where the balance, or the portion of the balance is being spent.
Which one are you referring to?
That's the
Amendment
the
number one?
97,000.
Oh, the second half. Oh, okay. Of this one?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, amendment number 1, we attach it to this contract because we do it together, but you're right, it is coming out of that expenditure. You're absolutely right.
That's why I'm gonna do it separately, because
However
it's a
you-
separate,
And that's already been approved.
that's already been approved.
So we're
All we're
just
doing
looking
is
signatures.
ratifying
Yeah.
the 97, the
Yes.
fact that we know it's going.
So we don't need to vote on anything? Wait?
I don't know, but it doesn't hurt because.
I would. I
It doesn't
just
hurt to vote.
Make a
That's
motion
my
that
opinion.
we accept the
Okay,
The-
I make a motion.
expenditure.
I make a motion that we approve the,
97,000.
the $97,000 for Wright Pierce for the Narrows Pump Station force main replacement. That's already been appropriated in the town meeting.
Right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
400. Okay, let's put that puppy to bed.
That certainly confused me.
Me as well, it cleared up.
Now we have this one for on-call services
For the electrician.
for the electrician from November 1st of 19 through October 31 of 20.
Yes. It's a $90 hourly
hour.
rate.
What's that?
$90 hourly rate for electrical services.
Plus transportation,
Yeah, but that's
that's standard.
That's standard
Oh,
for
that's,
everyone.
I can't get
In
rid
the
of that.
past, what have we paid for what has been the expense of the contract for the last couple of years? Any idea how much we've paid?
You mean total monies?
Yeah, per year,
It's not that much, I'll look at it, but I'm saying probably under 20 grand.
because we didn't put a cap on this, and we're not going to.
We're not going, well, I got a cap, remember, you always have a cap, because when you do this type of thing, when we get to $49,000, you're done, you gotta go to another whole round.
Okay, but there's nothing that talks about
No.
a cap in the document?
No,
Okay.
there's nothing in the document that says capped at 49,000 or nothing like that.
I make a motion, we approve the contract for multi-state electrical services of an on-call electrician.
I second it.
All in favor?
Mention the cap?
There is no
There
cap.
is no
There is no
cap.
cap.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now we've got one here for Abrams Group.
This one is another confusion.
I don't think.
So Mr. Abrams is working on the IMA. He's our certified public accountant, working on the IMA, and he's been the one that's been working with their CPA, I forget the name of that group. So they had a lot of questions about, should we pay for phones? Should they only pay for 2 phones? And so they've been going back and forth. And also, Mr. Abrahams is doing what they call a true-up. He's taking the estimate and the actuals and truing everything up, and that's his role. He's been doing it for quite some time, and the scope here, the specific scope was agreed to. Actually, we had sent other scopes, but the town administrator limited to this scope only. And so then we sent it off to the attorney, and it's all been approved. But the scope is specific to what Mr. Sullivan's asked for to do the IMA.
I do notice on this here, there was a cap of 20,000.
There was, and that was something that they suggested. It wasn't original, but after the fact, they suggested a cap of 20,000. And so it'll be a cap of 20,000. It is what it is.
$135 an hour.
This guy's doing the budget. The town administrator just hired somebody to do the budget.
Oh, you got a problem with that?
Well, remember, the town administrator is the procurement officer for the town of Wareham, and he has the authority. I'm not gonna talk about right, wrongs, and difference, but I'm talking about his authority. He has the authority he's the procurement officer for the town of Wareham. He can hire and he can get consultants, he has that given to him through the charter and the selectmen. Now, the debate between enterprise and general fund and who's responsible, that's something that I'm not going to get in the middle of. And the new charter rules were very clear as the delineation of what is what. So you'd have to read that document and then make some decisions from there. But
Fix it in the charter, my friend.
you're in the charter review.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
do you?
I make a motion, we approve the Abrams Group contract for financial assistance in support of rate plan and born IMA.
I don't see what he needs.
I've seen nothing from this man since we've been paying him, so
I guess it's, I
I've
gotta,
seen nothing, and then
Okay.
I have no reason to go along with it, personally.
to answer your question, he is we've been fighting, the CPA's been fighting along, and I'm not privy to why or why
Fine that he's
not
been
you
doing it.
guys were
The point
not.
being, we're paying the thing, we're approving a contract for him. He hasn't presented anything to us,
Thank you.
so I don't even know if he's alive. Okay? So,
Yes.
that's where I'm coming from on this.
I
Where I'm coming from, to tell you, is that he's been battling with the town administrators. Bourne Town Administrator had his CPA, Wareham had their CPA, and they've been battling numbers for
And I
quite some
think
time.
if
and
that's
they're
the
gonna
case, and if
continue.
he's done anything worthwhile, I think it would behoove him to be before us to explain to us what's going on, what he's done, and why.
Well, you're meeting
So
with
far,
Derek.
I have zero.
You're meeting with Derek, you got all those questions answered when you meet, because he's got all that documentation. And you're meeting Derek before you'll see him, he's in Florida. So
That's-
you meet with Derek, Derek will explain it all to you, because he has all the documents, and Derek's been working. So you're meeting with Derek anyways, you'll get all those questions answered. And Derek will gladly answer them for you.
How come we get to approve this guy and we don't get to approve the other guy?
What other, yeah, okay. Well, okay, Sandy made a motion. We have a second?
So it fails because there's no second.
Right.
Okay.
So it will not be will not be signed.
Correct.
We want some information before we sign this. Is that a way?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would meet with Mr. Sullivan, and he would give you all information you require, because he has it all.
That may not be true.
Should we ask Mr. Sullivan to come before us and talk to us about this?
I'm gonna do that. We'll see what happens.
That would be nice.
I would simply, Mr. Chairman, meet with him, he'd meet with him anyways, just simply say, hey, what's this Abraham's thing? And he would explain to him what he's done, what they haven't done, the discrepancies in
Yeah, but it doesn't mean
numbers.
explaining to all of us.
Exactly.
If the chair meets with Mr. Sullivan, that's fine, but it
And the chair
doesn't.
can explain it to you guys, and then you can have a vote after he explains it to you.
I'd like to,
I'm gonna ask Derek I'm gonna ask Derek if he'll come before us.
Thanks.
Oh, I got my other one.
Okay, next we have Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant Program. It's Mr. Grant.
Himself.
I'm sorry, I don't know this gentleman.
He's gonna do some stuff here. Hey, Russ, you can give him some candy, so that would cover you if you, just give him some candy.
That's good.
So you're
Thank you
covered.
very much. All right, we're covered.
Okay.
I'll just, you know,
You don't get candy.
No, well, I'm taking Tums anyway.
Tums. And you wonder why you're
Can-
sick.
Can I ask a question? Who is this gentleman?
He's gonna identify himself. He has to identify himself for the record anyways, and so, it's,
Good evening, my name is Russ Kleekamp, I'm an engineer with the company GHD.
Oh, okay.
so Russ has worked on a grant. He's looking at a vulnerability grant that pays 75%, and he's looking to borrow $1.1 million, or grant $1.1 million from this particular grant, which is the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant, so we can build we're talking about the lined lagoon, a lined basin at the plant. If we can get that grant, it'll offset what we're gonna have to borrow. So it's really an excellent opportunity. He sought this out, thinks it'll fit right for us, and so he's here to present it to us so we can move forward. And if we can get this grant, it's gonna be a big, for us, a big deal, because it saves us $1.1 million. So I think that's kind of a big thing. So excited about it, and Russ is here to present it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. Good evening, my name is Russ Kleekamp, engineer with GHD. And before I get into this presentation about the grant, I just wanted to take one brief moment. I did watch the commissioners' meeting from a few weeks ago, and I understand there are some questions or concerns regarding the contracts with GHD. I would be more than happy to answer any questions, or...
That was just me.
But But again, I just want to make sure that the commissioners are comfortable with GHD and the work that we present to the town. So I'll leave it at that. If there's ever any questions, please feel free to contact me. I can hopefully answer them.
Can you provide us with your contact information?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ.
Happily take another one.
And GHD also hires a lot of the local firms, works with them on a lot of projects, especially a lot of the surveying companies within this area. They do a lot of work for GHD, so
Okay.
they're very involved in the local area too, so.
So the grant I'm presenting tonight, and what I would be requesting a motion from the board would be to sign a letter of support, and then also, Mr. Chairman, I would need your signature on a supplemental form. But what this grant is, it's part of the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. So I know that's somewhat confusing, but as we're well aware, there was a $2.5 million town meeting article passed for the construction of this additional lagoon to help, or additional basin, to help address the I&I issues. So this project was developed through this MVP or the CZM program, which makes it eligible for a grant that can actually fund up to $2 million. But for the purposes of this singular application, we're putting it in for a grant of $1.125 million, which would offset that $2.5 million. So it's a tremendous opportunity. It's money the town was going to invest in anyways for the construction of this lagoon. Typically, I don't recommend grants, or I don't write grants unless I feel there's a high probability of getting it. And because this program funded both the assessment and also the final design of this lagoon, I think it's an excellent chance of funding. I never say guarantee with grants because you can't. And even if for some reason we didn't get this round of funding, there's another opportunity in the springtime that we could apply for if we don't get this. But I think it's a great opportunity and could save the town $1.125 million.
So it'll actually only
Good to me.
cost us half the price.
Roughly.
What would we have to find?
I am confused because it says that the total project cost is 1.5 million. Then why did we ask for 2.5?
Correct. So these grants are a little tricky the way you do it because this is funding construction and we do not know what the bid price is going to be. This grant funds 75% of it. One of the things that you do not want to do with grants is have to give money back if you don't spend it. So for example, if we put this project together and put it out to bid and the price came in lower than the 2.5 or the $2 million, we may be in an opportunity where we can't spend all of the grant funds, meaning we'd have to give some back. So for the purposes of the grant application, the total project cost per the application, we're saying is 1.5.
Okay, that explains why. Why did we ask for 2.5 if, so this is a projected construction
Correct.
component
Correct.
as opposed to the full project?
Right.
Correct. It would
So
offset
there's
the.
more expenses for another $1 million that, okay, I got it.
Potentially. We, so under the original assessment of this original program, we looked at constructing or developing a 2.2 million gallon basin, and that carried the original price tag of 1.5. Conversations with Mr. Campina, we may look to make that capacity larger. So that's where the 2.5 million, just because there are some unknowns, we don't know the exact location, the exact parameters, things like that, which we're working on now. I am in the event that, say the project came in at $2 million and we wanted to take 75% of that, I would be fully ready to go back to this granting agency to say, do you have another $200,000, $300,000, $400,000? Because what always happens with these grant programs is certain communities end up giving money back, and if the granting agency doesn't spend all their funds, it makes them look bad to the people that fund them. So they're looking to, so I would be fully prepared to go back to this granting agency potentially for more if we do get funded. Again, it's ifs. They're all ifs at this point. I have a very good feeling, but I think it's a fantastic opportunity.
Who's your grant writer? You.
Me
I'm
personally.
very impressed.
Thank you.
I like page 9. It sort of cleared it for me as to the steps of what is to be done, and the soil will be taken care of on site, won't have to be trucked away. We save costs that way, so it was, yeah.
learned how to make these as attractive as possible.
I just wanted to let you know I read it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Any idea when we might hear? You told me and I forgot. It went in one ear and out the other.
Probably the January, February. We wouldn't be ready for construction until summertime of next year. So it would be probably over the winter at some point.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that we sign a letter of support
Great.
for GHD to proceed on applying for the grant in the amount of $1,125,000.
I do have the letter here, by the way. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
0, okay. But that didn't even hurt, Russ. You need black.
So, Guy, we don't need to sign the one that's in the blue document? If
Did you,
that's the
we may have
master.
put one in there. Okay, so sign his. I don't know what to change I have to say, but
So I will put a note on it.
Russ provided.
Yep.
Here, I'll fill in the rest by hand.
Good, you want? This one here, okay. There you go, sir.
I got a pen right there. Sandy?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Russ. Appreciate your
Yes.
discussion at the town meeting.
And I was the difficult member, but if you can just be patient and explain things to me.
Sure.
I don't like signing things or voting for things that I'm just not aware of,
Sure, sure. And-
okay?
Believe me,
But I'm basically a very reasonable person.
Excuse me?
Can I get a vote on that?
Well,
400.
I didn't see or hear a motion or a second on that one.
I've had to sit in front of numerous boards and municipal officials justifying engineering fees. I understand that at first glance they seem exorbitantly high, and what are we paying for? But there is somewhat reason and logic behind it. So if I can explain the steps we took, I can come back and present,
Well,
or
we know it's not for coffee and cookies.
No, that overhead isn't there. That overhead cost isn't in there.
Just making a point, that's all. Not a big deal. Thank you, Russ.
thank you very much.
Anything else?
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Russ.
Starting to sound like
have a
Trump.
good weekend.
Starting to sound like Trump down there. Trump for favors.
Yeah, right.
Was that a quick
Keep the
quote,
blood
Paul?
sugar up.
If he didn't get his candy, he don't get his contract?
Right. You got it.
I think it was.
Treatment coordinator, status.
He's left to take on a job in Marion.
Secret.
We're back to having none. He left and took a job in Marion,
Who?
our pre-treatment coordinator. He was offered more money in Marion, so he left.
Yeah, who was this?
Ryan Sylvia.
Oh, yes, okay, all right. Gee, that's too bad.
Yes, he's no longer with
So we
us.
should remove this from the agenda?
Well, I would just, because it can keep the status, I don't know I'll probably be doing a lot of it and as we move forward, so, yeah. I'll keep you abreast. You know, that's just what, I mean, we're down probably 5 staff members. We're really behind the 8 ball here. We're losing staff to other facilities, and it is what it is, and we can't get help in. So we're trying to hire some young kids out of schools and help them get their licenses, and we've got couple new ones, 3 new ones actually in the past couple of years. And they've got their grade 3 licenses. Now we're working on the grade 5s, and we're trying to educate them. But it's a process, and what they know at this point, it's going to be years away before they become fully efficient. But they're learning. So we're trying to figure out how to recruit and how to get more staffing. It's just, it's a statewide and a countrywide issue with baby boomers and retirement. The average age of a wastewater treatment plant operator is 59. So the young kids aren't coming into the trade. So we're struggling all over. And I don't think we're the only industry, but we're struggling to get skilled laborers, skilled workers, and operators. So we're working on it, trying to figure out how to do this. So it's working with the DEP. They've got some conceptual programs they're trying to run where we can bring people in and actually license them on the job as they go, but get them in. So
Upper Capes program, is that going to help us?
I have 2 kids right now from Upper Cape.
Awesome.
Absolutely, grade 3
Are
operators.
they working, like, the seniors can work, or even the juniors can work so many hours a week?
So we do a co-op program with Upper Cape, and they do. They come in as a co-op, they come in, and we've been doing that for a couple of years, and then they matriculate into us, get the license, we continually get them. We also have an agreement with the Upper Cape, is that as these kids get their licenses, we have a standing request to employ them. And so we bring these young kids in, who come in that are eager to learn, and they have grade 2s, and we get them to grade 3s immediately. And then what we try to do is get them into their 5. What I'm doing now is in contacting the John Murphy, who's in charge of the license for the state of Massachusetts, the DEP. We're going to get some emergency 5s. So, because our plant, through negotiation with the union, requires grade 5s. The good thing is we also just, through this year's negotiation, we've actually authorized grade 3 positions to be paid, so we can pay these guys more than laborers. But nonetheless, if I get emergency 5s, because like there's a holiday coming up tomorrow, I have 1 grade 5. He's doing every single holiday because I have to have a grade 5 at the plant for a holiday. He's the only one doing them. So he's getting a little burnt out, overwhelmed. So I'm going to get a couple emergency 5s to give him some breather room so he can, and then have these, they have 6 months to pass the test. If they don't pass, then they go back to the grade 3. So it's just, and the guys have to be willing, I can't force it, the guys have to be willing to do that because it's them. They got to go take the testing, they do the studying, and so that type of thing. So we're trying to work the program, but it's a major issue getting help. It's a major issue, and it is what it is. And we'll keep moving it forward. One of the things I had talked about was trying to write a contract to get a subcontractor or a ops company to do pump stations. We have 45 pump stations. Just to get somebody to maintain them and to check them and just get that off our plate, and that gives the guys we can focus on the plant because we're spread between the 91 miles and the 45 pump stations and the lining, the cameraing and all that, repairs and cleaning, scraping paint and keeping the pump stations going. We just don't have the staffing. And so we're trying to spread the staff we have to do both.
So you're looking at possibly subcontracting?
I am. I'm looking into it. And then I'll bring it to the board. I think it's an idea.
Didn't we talk about a subcontractor to do some grease
We've done
work?
that before, yeah.
And then we talked about
What I'm
the,
talking about is to just give it out. In other words, to put out the bid.
Bid.
And all the companies out there that will just give them the pump stations. And we'll pay them, we'll do the cost analysis. And so instead of fighting to get people to hire people to do it,
I would suggest that we just go forward on this right away.
Okay.
Not waste time with it.
I would too.
Okay. No,
Because that
that's
sounds
good.
like a great
We could-
resource.
Let's not gum it to death, let's put it in practice.
I will now bring it, because I think it's the way to go.
so this is a
So-
subcontractor for
We'll see what they
support of
propose.
the 45 pump stations.
Pump stations. I think that's an excellent idea.
Okay, your
Will you
report.
run into union problems with that?
So to be frank with you, the staff we have, if we're not firing them, the union really doesn't have a complaint.
That's right.
We're not firing anybody. We're not displacing anybody. We're just
But you're
saying
not
going
bringing
forward.
anybody out of the hall either.
No,
Have anybody to bring,
No.
evidently.
no. To go move forward, we'd contract it out. And that way there we get some guarantees that our pump stations are going to be maintained. It takes the hiring off of
Would the
us.
subcontractor have to get the same rate as the town employees?
I don't want to go there because you're not going to like the answer.
Hey, they have
The answer is
a
that
lot more overhead.
they have to pay,
Prevailing wage?
yes, ma'am. So they're gonna make more money.
Yeah, they're gonna make more money.
They,
What we
that,
pay
you know,
out.
anytime you do anything with the government, prevailing wages kick in. So when we put the bid out, we'll have to do the
It's not an
prevailing
option.
wages.
I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is. We're gonna do what we have to do.
That's right.
But we need to we need to have the job done. We need to have it done correctly.
Absolutely.
And so we need some people in place to do it, so let's get it going.
I agree with you. I think we can nickel and dime it to
All
death, but
all the
it's,
rest of the stuff, we can argue it to death. It's not gonna change the facts.
that's right.
But I mean,
That's right.
if you give it out to subcontractors, the union's gonna come back and complain.
Because they're gonna get more, they're
them
gonna
something
get
to
more
do.
money to do it.
Let them complain. And you remember, they always have the option to go work for this company. That's, you know.
Exactly.
I don't think it's a bad idea. It's becoming an industry standard. We're all struggling. Plymouth just put out a contract to hire, they got rid of Veolia, they hired, I think it's Woodward and Curran, to run everything for them. So, I mean, it's standard in industry. It's becoming, it takes the burden off of us.
There are a lot of
providing-
companies out there that are running the entire plants. and there's
Absolutely.
the contract by itself, so.
They do everything. So, I mean, it's worth
You know, there's
putting
no
out
point.
there, getting some feelers.
Worry about it.
Have you ever looked at giving it all to an outside contractor?
I-
Giving part of it to an outside contractor?
I did. Matter of fact, the town of Wareham,
Costs?
did that in 1990, I want to say 1998 or 1997, maybe 2000. They actually wrote the contract. I forget the town administrator. And the union was upset, and they promised to do some things to stop the town from doing that. And so they made that negotiation, they stopped the process. But yes, and I think, to be real, in today's day and age, it's not such a bad idea. You're talking about unfunded debt, which would be retirement and all kinds of other things that the town simply cannot afford. It may be wise in that area. Also, there's a lot of nuances. They train, they've got things, and it just makes more sense, and it's becoming a trend in the
From the sounds of
industry.
it, I think we should probably pursue that aspect as well, at least from a knowledge standpoint.
I think so.
Which we
Just
don't
to see
have
what's
at the
out
We
there.
moment.
have the three different numbers.
Yeah, so we've got something to work with.
I've asked for the Plymouth contract. It's public knowledge, just so we can see how it's structured and what they're looking for. And we can get a copy of the bid tabs and see what they're spending. We can correlate their size to our size. We can make some determinations of what they've done in other towns, what they did for contract. We can at least look at those, review those, and through all that, maybe draw up our own contract and make a decision. So I think
I
makes
think
all
we
the
need
sense
to,
in the world.
we've got to move forward on this stuff. We're too far behind on too many things.
Okay.
So if that happens, would we possibly be able to do something with the grease? Inspection of all the restaurants and stuff like that?
That could be part of the contract,
Part of the
absolutely.
contract. I mean, to
Okay.
put,
Because,
it's just like with the IMA, you put everything in that you want to have before you let the contract.
That's right.
all.
That's right.
did we get an answer on the study of the output from Stone, the malt place?
Yeah, we did. That's been done.
I know, but we were waiting for the report because we were going
I
to
thought-
come from the
thought you got it.
treatment coordinator.
We did? We did get the report?
From, which one are you talking about? The evaluation?
The seven?
Yeah,
From,
whether or
engineering
not
firm?
there's an
We did it.
issue with the pump station down at the
I just thought of a
industrial
question.
park.
GHD completed that report. We have it.
That's what I was asking.
I'll have to give you, I'll dig it up.
Did we,
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's been out there. How long is that? That's been a while. I'll get it to you. So you need the GHD
so
report.
do we have an issue?
Okay, let's,
Yeah, they
I'm
can't.
sorry,
they
I
can't
went
add
off
another-
topic.
yeah,
They
let's,
kinda had another gallon.
let's go forward. We're on the sewer, your report, Guy.
Okay, my report, I really don't have a whole lot. I was going to give my time to Russ, but I do want to say something for me that's very positive. The lab has been recertified, which means that annually we're sent a bunch of tests with given knowns. They know the answers, and they say, okay, and they give us a test and ask us to look for certain parameters. We do the test in the lab, we send it in, they evaluate. We're certified for BOD, TSS, ammonia, what else we took, a couple others. We're certified, so that means that our staff and personnel can do these tests recognized by the state of Massachusetts as accurate and certified. So that's pretty exciting for me. We were worrying about losing it for a while, and so we have that certification. That's huge.
The lab, they certify everything you're doing. Now, is this the point also where they decide what chemicals you add and what amounts in order to treat your sewage?
No, the lab certification is to test the so, example, we have to report to the EPA
Yeah,
what
no.
our ammonia is.
So who decides how much chemical gets put in where?
The chemicals are decided by us on a daily basis, by the lab tech who's doing the process control. So during the course of the day, we take pH. All right, we do pH multiple times on the day. We know that the biological acid requires between 7.2 and 7.8 to be efficient. So if the pH drops below 7.2, then the decision is made to increase the alkalinity of the soda ash, increase the chemical to raise up the pH and the alkalinity. So we do that on a daily basis.
So your labs does that?
That's right, the lab, and so we look at the numbers, I get the numbers, we confer with the lab, we say, okay, we need to go up on this, to go up on that, to maintain the environment that the bacteria need. And so we do that on a daily basis, and that's the process control. The lab guy is doing the process control every single day in the lab. It's an important position, and it's got to be done. And we've been blessed with a couple of lab technicians in the past that have been great. We have a new lab technician we're working with, and so the bottom line is it's a critical component of the plant. It is. It is. Same thing with methanol, which we had methanol because when you remove all the BOD, the bacteria does something. So the same thing as the
The guy
chemicals.
that knows how to add the chemical to keep the smell down?
So the guy, no, it's not the same person. When you're carrying two full basins, there's no chemical I can add. There's none because it's overwhelming. It's just too much organic matter. I couldn't pump enough chemicals into it to mitigate the odors. I can't. So again, with the pour design, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm looking at it's a product called Excel. I'll give you the disc on it. I got it, and it's out of Washington, D.C. It's been very successful in their treatment plant. And they're in Washington, Arlington, and it's a very sensitive area, and odors are very big. It's costly, but they figured out how to do it. Very expensive. But in that part of the world, they want minimal odor. It doesn't eliminate odor. It just mitigates it. And I just got that disc. I'm looking at it now, and I'll let you know. But it's pricey.
Well, can it be added further upstream than?
It is. Everything's right now. We're adding hypochlorite pucks upstream. So the odor, you smell odors. I smell deterioration. The H2S means that we're deteriorating, because remember, what you're smelling is hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is a component that the bacteria eat, and then as they eat or digest the sulfide, they excrete sulfuric acid. And so when you smell it, I'm smelling acid. The acid eats the concrete, it eats the metal, it gets into the air, it eats the we've got pump stations that are destroyed. I think I shared the corrosion report we got 4 years ago. We're destroyed. So when you smell the odors and you complain about the odors, I get that, and I'm not diminishing that, but I'm smelling deterioration, because that means that our system is just deteriorating, it's rotting. It's rotting away, which means rehabilitation. So we're adding bleach upstream to try to get out the H2S to maintain my pipes so they don't rot, to maintain the pump station concrete structures, which is the wet wells that's all deteriorated. You go to Narrows Pump Station, and I'd love to take you there and take you down the third bottom stairs, and I guarantee you'll be petrified. We're petrified going in there because the concrete is pitted down to the metal. You can see the rebar. The metal steps are just rotted, and they're not trustworthy. We've got pump stations that the steps are gone. The metal's just rotted right out. And we've got to put steps there, and we put some makeshift steps to get through. And this is endless. And that's capital. It's all on a capital, and I don't have the money to do this capital. And when Jim says to me, prioritize, I keep saying, okay, which one is, because they're all like that. We have a corrosion issue. I could start with Narrows, do Narrows, Hines, Cohasset Narrows, Dix Pond, come up to Depot, and then go to Kennedy's tomorrow. And they're all in the equal amount of, and each one's about 750,000 to 1.3 million. Immediate, because they're all high priority and they're all severe consequences. And that's there. So to answer your question, yes, corrosion is a major issue. We are adding bleach upstream, the pucks, and they go in there, and what we're adding is oxidizer, trying to neutralize the H2S. If I can get rid of the H2S, then we have a chance. And we're doing that. But it doesn't fix the problem that we've already have. We're going to come back, we're going to fix it. But moving forward, we're trying that, and I'm putting pucks in like crazy. We created a tube with slits in it. We fill it up with pucks, we drop it in the water, and it dissolves slowly. And that's adding oxidizer to counteract the hydrogen sulfide. And we're doing that now. We're doing it in 6 or 7 pump stations upstream. We monitor the residual because if it gets to the plant itself has our first stage is the anoxic. When you add oxidizers, you're increasing the oxygen, which is called free oxygen in the water. If we put free oxygen in the water at the anoxic, the bacteria will get lazy, like everybody else. They'll go after the free oxygen for respiration, and they won't attack the nitrogen, and then we'll lose our nitrification. So we got to be careful how we add these oxidizers because they can negatively affect the plant. So yeah, it's a balancing act. It's a lot of monitoring, and the lab person gets involved, the pretreatment person gets involved, and the pretreatment person's job, as much as they got to check these grease facilities, they have to check the pH in the lines, the deterioration of the lines. They got to monitor the chemicals we put in there. That's another layer of the whole thing, because that's the treatment of the collection system that we haven't been doing forever, and that's why it's all deteriorated. So yeah, we're working hard at that. We've got chemicals, and there's other chemicals I'm looking at, and we're trying to go downstream and nail it. In Kendrick, we're putting a ton of pucks. We're trying to get the neutralize it because we got a lot of grease in there, a lot of H2S, and we're trying to, and how we verify that is we have a meter, and the meter monitors H2S. And so it's just, we put it on there, we plug it in, and we let it go, and we come back a week later, a month later, whatever, and it gives you the data I forget the time, every 2 minutes or whatever, it tells you what the H2S reading of that state. So we can monitor it throughout the day. We can look at the flow and see where it's high, where it's low, and make some determinations. We can get the baseline, and we can add chemicals, see what that is, to see if there's any efficiency and what's happening, so we can actually verify what we're doing. So that's the pretreatment jobs also. He's monitor out there and that type of thing. So, yeah, we got to, and we're working on it. So we're looking for other chemicals, anything we can get to get the big problem done. So that's what we're doing there. You're absolutely right. Good point.
What else have we got in here?
That's all I have.
That's it.
I was out at the plant today, and the first lagoon's a little lower, but the second lagoon is a little higher.
They both should be
They're both
lower.
the same length. They're both about 10 to 12 feet below the top.
Yeah, the back basin, we have, it's a constant discharge of 50 to 60 gallons per minute. We expect to get that emptied in 10 days. We're adding nothing to it.
But keep in
The front
mind-
basin is up and down. We can't do nothing. That's by flow.
Was it last week or 10 days ago? We had a discharge into the unlined lagoon
That is true.
because of the amount of water that came in from the storms. So that was,
When we hear rain and we see rain, we get nervous because we know it's coming.
yeah, because the front lagoon was about 1.5 feet from the top,
The top.
which had to be okay.
Yeah, so it is. We are working
Stop
on
by
it.
every once in a while
Yeah.
when there's an email about the smell. I go up and I drive down Linwood and Ladd and try to identify the odors that they're complaining about. I'm sure every once in a while they are there.
Oh, they are. I've seen them. I mean, I've smelt them. I've gone myself. They're there.
You're right.
Yeah, the other day I went and I smelled it when I got out to the EMS facility. Not on
Right.
Linwood, but up at the EMS, so they're, yeah, okay.
Hey, update on C Street.
We still see the street. It's there. We've concluded the borings. The borings are done, and now we're putting together specs to put the bid out.
Okay.
I expect that to be wrapped up in a few more days.
Some pumps are still out there.
Oh, yeah. So the sump pumps, I'm going to put it in, I'm writing my budget for 2020. In my budget, I'm going to ask for some money out of the capital to actually start chasing it. We're going to smoke and chase it and knock on doors. That's going to be a budgeted item.
You know, I wouldn't bother to smoke. I would rather do the cammering the way we were talking about before.
Well, you're right, and the camera is to catch
that's-
it. The smoking is to identify things we don't even know, because we're going to smoke the area. And it's bigger picture for us, because the question is, Jim, what am I going to fix? And what has to be fixed? So I got to identify it. Sump pumps, and the smoke is not for the sump pump, it's for the generalization of figuring out. So we know we have an I&I, and so which pipe is leaking the most? The smoke is going to help us get there. These sump pumps, we're going to actually knock on doors, as you said, identify who, because if they deny it, we're going to assume that, so we're going to play that game, and then we'll set the camera right there and watch it, and then identify that and go
What
after that
about the
individual.
3 we already know about? Have they been given their letters?
No, I haven't done anything with that. I think at that point, it was,
Those
we're looking for the
No, wait a minute.
contractor, so I
Those
think,
particular ones, that's the
That caused
contractor's
the problem.
That's the contractor's problem, not ours.
I believe that was
So
the
we don't
decision.
have to ask them to get rid of their sump pump?
Well, yes, we will,
We will,
but whatever
The cost.
happens to them, a cost.
Well, I'm not talking about the cost. I
We
totally
just know they've got
understand that's
sump
the
pumps, so that
contractor.
those need to be contacted to have them eliminate them.
Yeah, we
But can't we
That's all.
send them a note saying disconnect your sump pumps?
I just said, we'll just send them,
Yeah,
we'll do
But
something
we
with them.
haven't done it yet.
So, let me make sure I'm clear. We've sent letters to say that they gotta go, but you're saying specific to specific
For those
individuals?
three.
We know
say
the
so.
three
Okay,
that
okay.
disturbed the,
We've got the three guy that you've got the information on. Those, I think, should be,
Send a
you
letter,
know, well, and even knock on the door and hand them the letter and say,
something like that. Yeah.
we know it's there, this is the problem you caused, you're lucky the contractor hasn't come back after you
I
yet.
would send a letter so we have a record.
Record of it?
Both.
oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
registered letter.
Letter.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
It's against the law.
I know.
Show up at the door with the policeman.
Oof.
No.
Why not?
Give them a chance.
A lot of people
It's
don't,
against the law.
but they don't know.
Don't
How many second chances do you get when you're pulled over?
It's against the law to go over 65 on a highway.
Yeah.
Do we not do anything?
And when he pulls you over, he says, don't do it again.
I think we,
That's what we're doing.
I think we need to send a registered letter.
I think you gotta hit them hard and hit them and make it so damn public that everybody else gets them
Well,
on.
if we start with a registered letter, and they don't pick it up, then we go with the police.
I agree.
But with registered letter, they signed it, there's at least proof that they have received it. Some of it, knowing where it's coming from, may not pick it up, and then you have to deliver it with the police.
Two of the ones that of the three are in Florida.
We can send it to their Florida
Florida
address.
address.
Well, we could hand deliver it.
I'll take that,
Whatever
Chuck.
bottom-
I'll
It
do
was
that.
while they were in Florida that they did the violation that caused the problem.
Well, then you know what? We
I like
need
that.
to send it to Florida.
I like
Send the
that.
letter to Florida.
And we could do both. We could do both. I'll send a registered letter and we'll knock on the door. We'll give them a reasonable amount of time to respond, then we'll knock on the door.
We get down there with an AR-15 and take them out.
Oh, jeez.
Stone Path, anything new and different on that?
Just the letter we're constructing, I'll give you a copy of it to tell them that the evaluation that you said you didn't get, you gotta get a copy too of the
I
evaluation.
Yeah.
honestly don't remember getting it.
I didn't get a copy of it.
Yeah, we'd say that.
Okay.
if I had it.
Have we had any more connections to town sewer?
Yeah, we had a couple more. Yeah, we did. This week, got a couple more. I'll get the numbers. We got, gosh, who were they?
Last time I heard it was 6.
We did a couple this week.
Well, speaking of
So that's
connections,
working.
what's the story with the duplex on Swift Beach Road?
That's connecting.
Is that what the sewer pipe that's in the front lawn's for?
Yeah, so they're gonna connect to the manhole on Swiss Beach Road. What I'm doing is, it's a duplex, they're gonna put a manhole in the property of that duplex, bring both pipes into it, and then take a pipe from that manhole and go to the manhole in the street for sewer. They're gonna bore into it, then drop a drop into it so they can tie in, that's how they're gonna tie into the sewer.
Going into the forced or the gravity?
Gravity, gotta go in the gravity. And it's an $18,000 betterment, and so to pull the permit, they got us a check to pull a permit to get that work done, and then, of course, all the work's on them.
I noticed that the pipe is sitting there on the lawn.
Well,
Oh, speaking of
yeah, they had
that,
to get a permit.
halfway down Swift Beach Road, leaning up against the fence, is the sign. When we did the Swift Beach Road project,
Yeah,
is the sewer improvement sign.
really?
He goes by there every day.
I'll grab it,
No, no.
I'll
Okay.
grab it if you want.
If you don't mind, that'd be great, I'd appreciate that. I'd appreciate that. So, I wanted to say something, and we dropped the ball, I know I did anyways. There should be we should have a sign made for any time we do a project, and I know that it sounds kind of probably vain, but it should say that this project, and it should be brought to you by the sewer commissioners and listed in the project, because people need to know, when they drive by and they see the project, whose project is it? This project, you know how they, as an example, you do a roof, you put this roof be done by Jim or whatever?
Yeah.
There should be a sign, this project brought to you by the
time.
Wareham Sewer Commissioners, list of sewer commissioners, and every time we do a project, it should be out there. It really should. Remind the public that, yes, we're addressing it, we know it's there, we're very active about it, and if we had more money, we'd do more. But I think we should draw a sign for that.
At
That's
least
just
say
my
it's a project of the Wareham Sewer
Improvement.
District.
Your enterprise,
Sorry.
Your enterprise dollars at work.
Yeah.
something, whatever you decide to be, but there should be something out there. It really should be, and it should be, the project should be there at the project. That's what I believe in.
don't do it in any of the potholes.
No, that's not us, we're not gonna put that one there, no, that's not gonna be us.
Hey, have we ever got EDU rates? Have we ever got anything from Ty and Bond?
No.
Final?
And,
It's funny,
again,
because Bourne just hired them to do their the district, because they're restructuring.
I was shaking my head.
But I thought we were going to get cost of doing the plant to see if we're talking about a standard increase every year, but we were trying to get some information, correct? Yeah.
I personally think, you know, I'll be conservative here, but I think we would be remiss if we don't go up 3% at least. I think we have to do it.
But we were asking for, does the cost of running the plant go up 3%?
Well, your payroll goes
Well,
up.
I don't know until I see some numbers as to whether,
Did you go to town meeting? Were you
It's
at
your
town
town
meeting?
meeting.
Were you at town meeting?
yeah?
Okay, so you see the collective bargaining? That's 4%. You were there. What more proof do you need?
I
You were
mean,
there.
come on.
Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna cost this department probably out of our pocket to just go the retroactive, maybe 20, 28, 30, and he gave you the numbers, 28, 30,000. That's just for retro, and then going forward, they get their 3%. Collect the union for the ladies got 2%. The foremen haven't got nothing. We got, I think, 2%, maybe 3%. So and those numbers are there, and every town meeting, it's a collective bargaining is so that's gonna be an annual to the next, so I'll show you the bill for sludge. You're not gonna like that bill, and I'll get you heads up, because you're signing bills tomorrow. We just got a bill for water for the last 6 months, $27,000. Okay, and part of it's because the filters were down, we had to put water on to continue the plant to go. For last 6 months, we spent $27,000. I think that's well within your 3%. But it's going up anyways. You got your water bill, my water bill. It went from
Absolutely.
18 to 25 normally.
Well, this is
I just don't,
this is
you know, those numbers are real.
And if we sit
pay the same
here
bills.
and do nothing, we're doing exactly what was done before. And we know the work that needs to be done. I'm just suggesting, go up 3% right now until you get everything you need, because 3% is nothing. And yet it is something. It's just my point, and
At the
I will
last,
not support a raise until we make the rates more fair. I totally agree we need the money. I totally agree we could spend the money. There's a million places to use it. But until the EDU rate is more fair, I will not support an increase.
You'll never make,
You're losing people at
You'll-
the, so that's why they're going to other towns.
You'll
Because we're
never-
not paying them what they should be worth. Same
You
thing
will
we did to
never-
our police for years. Come on, Peter, we have to, you're taking it out on the employees.
first of all, you'll never make the EDU fair. It's impossible.
No, you can't.
Because you're gonna slight somebody. You may make it more fair for the elderly
I
and less
just
fair for
want to
business.
make it more fair.
I'm just saying,
I'm not saying that it's going to go down.
it'll never be
I
fair.
just want it fair. It is not now.
We can't afford to make it fair in
It'll
this
never
town.
be fair.
We can't.
But anyways,
Well, I think what Peter's actually saying is he would like to see it more equitable than what currently exists, if there's a way we can develop that. We've had ad
If-
nauseum discussions on it.
If
and
we
it got
had the
nowhere.
water rates and we based it on the water rates, whether it goes up or it goes down, it would at least be fair. That's all I'm saying.
so I guess the task is to get the water.
Well,
That's our task.
I,
Because until we get the water, you're saying we won't raise rates till we get the water. And I would like to know how to get the water. And if we can get the water, then we're good.
We can get the water, but we don't have the report from that outfit up in Westwood.
Because they stopped doing water. They're not, it's all about
It
EDU.
was supposed to come up with different ways to come up with an EDU rate.
They-
Water was one of them.
And they abandoned
They were
water.
given all of the information. We have nothing from them.
Peter, I won't say it publicly, but they gave us a number.
You're about
You've seen the number. You've seen the number based on the water rate the data we gave them, you saw the number. It was exorbitant. You've seen it. I showed everybody here. You've seen the number.
I remember,
Okay, so yeah, that we gave, and we looked at that, and we said, whoa.
we're not gonna show that.
So you
to
had
anybody.
that. That was given to you.
Exactly, it was.
Why not show it?
Oh, come on, Peter, it was, the number is astronomical.
If it's fair, it's fair.
Okay, so it would, and that number was going to be fair, but the bills today that you're seeing was going to be substantially greater. And you're talking about fairness, it's fair. You've seen the numbers. I
Get
showed
their
everybody.
report. What were the other options they were gonna, give us for?
The other option
setting it?
was redoing the EDU and tiering and all that, that never gets finalized. Technically,
They never did anything.
no, not on that, they haven't. So, but what I'm saying is the water, we were fighting about water, we've seen water, and it was staggering. It was staggering.
Look,
And that was based on water.
I just want to go on record is that I feel that we need an increase, and you know what, I'm gonna say, I make a motion that we increase it to 3%. You guys want to vote me down? Fine, but that's my motion.
Do I have a second?
All right, fine.
It's not off the table. It may be down for the moment. It's down for the
No,
council.
I think you had said that before.
But the last increase we did, we talked about 50% of that increase would be set aside for capital, correct?
I don't know if it was, I think it was
But
2%, it was
whatever-
5% increase.
Whatever percent it was.
Yeah.
But understand, I don't know how much that became capital, but it has to be, if it's identified, we have to physically transfer it at town meeting from our operating budget to our capital, and I don't know where that stands.
We have a capital budget within
I
our budget.
know, but this,
and
we said
Right,
that
it's a capital
we
budget
did an
within
It's already within
increase.
it anyway, so the money goes there. We're doing capital projects, and that money goes there.
It
It's
doesn't have to be
Well-
transferred.
already
But
there.
that's not what we
It'll be a
said
town
when
meeting.
we put the increase in. We said we would put an X percent of that increase directly to
The
capital.
capital, yes.
And again,
That's why, part of the reason why,
and I'm saying we do have a cap, we spend $1 million in capital. That's part of that, that's part of the budget money.
We spend more
And
than
we
what
put it in there,
the-
it's in there.
The percentage of the new increase is
And-
what
and-
you're saying. I know that.
And
And we did.
And if you put, so you take, I forgot the number, but when I ran it, the 2% for capital of what the EDUs and the whole 9 yards, it was like $30,000, $40,000.
So it's
It's in
nothing.
there. It's in there.
all right,
So it's not, when you think 3%, you think, it's not a substantial number. And so that money's in there, so we gave an extra 50,000 here, 100,000 there, and it's in there, we use it. And other communities are facing the same thing. I can show you some reports that they triple their rates because of their debt, not the debt, the infrastructure repairs. We're trying to stay away from that.
Well,
We're trying to stay away from that.
Well, I just want to go on record, is when we do come out with the new EDU rate, it's going to be really tough for this community, because we're not doing our jobs and increasing it along with the cost of living every year. And I'm sorry, I cannot believe that we are all, I just can't believe you guys.
Social Security doesn't go up, cost of living every year either.
Heck, they might want to get, that's another story. Well, in theory it does, but they're saying there's no inflation.
My social security just went up.
Yeah, they have it, they do, but they just say that it's less than,
But
but
we're getting away from it. Why can't we get the damn report?
Phone's on the truck. I'll email him again, I've done that. I think,
I
I don't know.
want Bowen to do it.
He's gonna claim that he gave us a number. We've seen the report, we've seen the numbers.
I've seen the number.
And that contract was for water. It wasn't for EDU, it was for water.
I
It
want
wasn't
to see the
revised, it was-
report. I want to see how they came up with their
No,
number.
actually, yeah,
They came up with a number. Show me the formula.
Yeah, I'll
That's
have
what
him-
I want to see.
I'll have him show it to you, because it was there, and it was crazy. And remember, we talked about the outliers, and some bills went up to over $100,000 that we're now paying $5, and some bills went up slightly, from maybe the $596 at the time, I think it was $596 at the time, up to maybe 6 something. And those numbers were staggering, and.
If it's fair, it's fair. That's all I'm asking for.
Yep. So I'll call Mike, get the report, just have him send us everything that was done, and I'll give it to you, and you can look at it. But they broke it all out, and I should.
I want the report.
But you talk about being fair, how are we being fair to the employees of this, of the sewer plant, that we don't grant any increases to allow for the costs that are going up, the sludge and this? Who do you think it's gonna be taken out on? On the employees. They're not gonna get it.
They're gonna get the same anyway. They're gonna get their increases. It's under the union, it's under the union contract. The contracts are passed, those are in place. You've
There's
got no
only
con-
so
you've
much
got-
money
you've
in the
got-
pot, you
You've
can't-
got no control over what they're getting,
No,
you know?
there's only so much money in the pot, guys. And I
Yeah,
just
there
think-
is, and it's hard. And
I
I'm
just-
All
the
right,
first to
let's
admit
go,
it.
you know, we're beating a dead horse here right now.
If we beat it enough, we may be able to get some, yeah.
Peter, you had a question, new business, we covered that, but did you have?
On that Bourne sewer meeting, there was a question here. Why are the grits and screenings from the sludge not being sent to Bourne landfill?
They are.
Why'd they ask
I
that
don't know.
question then?
That's why I said the questions, I don't always get the questions, but we do, every year.
The question was not as much why are we not sending it there, why aren't we sending more?
So we called the landfill for our sludge, all right? At the time,
I don't know.
we tried, because so let me say this. We were going to go from the liquid to the screw press. One of the first things we did is call Bourne and said, we'd like to bring our sludge there because we need a disposal facility. And they said, no, we're not going to take it. So that's that. So we went to the landfill in New Hampshire. So it has nothing to do with us. That's that sludge. But the grits and screenings, I give them what I have, and that's it. And we bring 200 ton a year. If we generate more than 200 ton, I'll bring it and we pay the difference. And I
Okay,
can
so the issue is, we don't have any more grit and screening than we're already depositing over there.
That's correct.
Sludge is what we would like to do over there. If they will take the sludge, then we need to reinvestigate the potential of a screw press.
Absolutely.
At the time we looked at it, it wasn't worth going through the drill.
I gotta go to New
It
Hampshire.
wasn't gonna do anything.
Right. And so we asked
But it-
Bourne right
it
off the
gave-
top. So if they're willing to do
Basically,
that,
the
yeah.
bottom line comes down, in our discussions with the committee, is sludge being an issue that needs to be discussed in the IMA. That's
I agree.
fine. I mean, that's a separate issue from the grit and screenings.
Yes, yes.
Well,
That's the point.
But I think he talked about the IMA. His question was generated by the IMA. IMA talks about the 200 ton of grits and screenings, and we're bringing it. And when we go over, we pay
what
them.
do we pay to get rid of that?
Pay nothing.
We don't pay Bourne anything.
No, they're,
not for
in the,
That's kind of what I was thinking. Are they saying that if we can turn it all into screenings and grit, we can get rid of it over there and avoid sending it to Warwick?
no, no, that's a whole different ballgame, the
That's
sludge.
Basically, yes, that's what they're saying, only they're not delineating sludge, that discussion. They're making the assumption, I think, that we have got far more
Than what we're sending them.
screenings than what we're sending them.
No.
And that in turn is going out in the transportation, what we're doing with sludge. Their concern is, can we deposit more over there? Why aren't we depositing more over there to reduce our sludge disposal costs?
We can't.
There are I
separate
understand
issues.
that, Guy, there's two separate isures.
But what
they-
generated the question?
but
I don't understand the
believe-
question.
I don't believe they have that understanding between the two issues.
Yeah, because I don't know what,
They're combining it all together into one.
because I'm saying, if I had more grits and screening,
When I was listening to the question in the first place, the question was grit and screenings. Well, I don't know how much whether I talked to you, I know where we stand on that. Sludge is a whole separate animal. They're
Why?
paying a part of the cost of that. Their question essentially is, why can't some of that stuff go to them at no charge to us so they won't have to pay more? That's all it is. It's that simple.
that's right, and we go back, they were supposed to.
That's simple.
They were supposed to build a plant to take the sludge. They asked us, and that never happened, their landfill, that never happened, because we agreed to send them, maybe that's where you got the information. We agreed to send them everything, because they were gonna build this plant at the landfill to turn it to energy. And we agreed, we were all excited about it. It never come to fruition, so we never sent it. So he may have read that document and figured out why, but
I don't know
that's,
what he's got.
one has A to B.
But I'm
doesn't-
saying,
yeah.
the understanding I came away with is that's where it was, and there was a discrepancy in there. I didn't have the answer on the grit and screening, and that's why I was asking you about it. And that's pretty simple. I mean,
Well, it isn't simple. No, it isn't to me. Not yet it isn't. So if we turn our sludge into grits and screenings, it costs us nothing to get rid of it.
200 ton, only 200 ton a year.
Excuse me?
Only 200 ton a year, that's it. So in the IMA,
How many tons are we getting rid of?
200 ton. we're getting grit and screens about 200 ton.
So why did they think we weren't doing enough?
That's why I said it could have been because of
they-
that document, I don't know.
They were concerned with the disposal costs.
Yeah, they went out of sight.
They weren't delineating between grits and screening and sludge. And my assumption is, from the way the conversation went, and with the information I've got since, they don't understand that there's a difference between the two. We are disposing the 200, which we have, and they take.
The difference between the two is what? Moisture.
Yes, yes,
So if we had the corkscrew and
Yes.
get rid of the moisture,
yes,
we could send it to Bourne,
yes. We'd pay for it, but we'd pay less.
but we'd have to pay.
That's right. I think that was like 55 or something like that dollars a ton, yes. Which is substantially cheaper because,
Versus 400,
I'm sorry?
versus 400.
That's right, so it's more cheap because the trucking, they go to New Hampshire, and the tipping fee was like 300 and something dollars, yes, absolutely. So if we could, and we looked at that, and we asked Bourne if we consolidated, if we squeeze it out, it's called dewatering. If we dewatered with the screw press, could we send it to Bourne? Because it's right here. Trucking it, I mean, it'd be great. We do it ourselves, and they said no. They said, no, you're not getting it, and that's at the landfill. Landfill said, we won't accept it. So we said,
So
okay,
I
that's,
say,
that
we've
didn't
got
work.
to, we've just, in our discussion with them, that will have to be brought up, because there's a clarification issue there. It's a communication thing, that's all. I think that's what it comes down to, and I think we've got the opportunity to explore that on a more practical basis than we had before.
And so for your edification, on the practical basis, the issue with sludge, and when you do is odors. And I forget, I want to say 2008, whatever, 2009, they were going to shut that landfill by DPE because of odors. And I think when you talk to landfill, they're nervous of sludge because there's an odor issue, and they don't want to get back to that point. So that may have been the deciding factor when we asked them to do the sludge there, but that would be a conversation
But
to have with their.
as far as you're concerned, you're sending as much grits and screenings as you can
That's correct.
without,
That's right. We used the whole 200 ton. Last year, we paid them, the year before we paid them, because we went over the 200. When I go over the 200, I pay their tipping fee. I got to pay them, we cut them a check. And we've done that, we've cut them checks. And remember, one of the contentions we had is that before 2011, we cut them a check for every drop. And this origination of this contract back in 1989, I believe it was 89, they gave it to us free, but we kept paying the bill. And I said, well, you owe us from 1989 to 2010, because we paid you for the 200 ton that you're supposed to give us.
yeah, well,
So anyways, what I'm saying is, always been there.
what I want to do is go forward with the.
That's right.
My point, would it behoove us to know what it's going to cost us to get rid of the screening, including the transportation, if we did use Bourne, and how much it would cost for us to put the centrifuge in?
You have that number.
That's
and
$1
you're right.
million.
That's right, and Jim has it, and
So how soon do we pay off that $1 million saving going to Warwick?
Warwick and to New Hampshire, and Jim, that's what Jim's saying,
Yeah,
the
we don't have-
renegotiation.
It's going to be in the negotiations, because right now it's,
Because if they agree to take it,
yeah.
then it makes that more
I
viable.
just think it's something that the committee should know
Yeah,
going into
absolutely.
the IMA discussion.
Absolutely. That's what Jim said. He said, we'll bring it forward, because if they agree to take it, then it cuts that transportation tremendously, then it's worth, then at that point, the screw press may be worth it, and then we can
Then
move
we
forward on
pay
that.
for the
That's what he said.
centrifuge instantly.
That's right, that's what Jim was saying, that's his
because
debate.
they-
That's his
And they
discussion.
pay 20% of it.
And they-
Wasn't another town on the Cape supposed to do something?
Everybody's doing something. Yarmouth was up, it fell
I thought it
through.
was Yarmouth, it fell through?
Yeah,
didn't
matter of fact,
happen.
I just talked to the financial director today about Yarmouth and
Is that the one that's doing the, trying to do a regional?
Yarmouth and that area there, yeah.
And they're the
And
ones,
there's-
they're the ones that have got cost doesn't matter.
Wow, I want to say, is it cost doesn't matter? I forget. Cost doesn't matter is doing another one down further.
That's maybe.
And you
the one
seen
I'm
the,
thinking
you
of.
seen the staggering figures that they talk
Yeah.
about?
They're never gonna do it. They won't be able to afford to do it.
Numbers too
not with
high.
them.
Numbers are too high.
Yeah, crazy.
You know, we all agree that we need all these things. We really do. But we also are realistic that there's a definitive amount of money. It isn't like we have open pocketbooks. These things are all nice to do, and we need to do them, but my gosh, these incinerators and plate and frames, they're pricey. You're talking multi-millions when you do these projects. Somebody's got to fund it. Yeah, we were gonna get in bed with Yarmouth, we were gonna get in bed with Bourne, we've searched, we've done them all, and none of them has come through. And that was our answer to cutting our costs, but nothing's worked. And right now, there's Cranston, the liquid, Cranston, and Woonsocket, and that's it. That's our only two options at this point.
Donna, you're on stage.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Our next meeting is the 21st of November.
In room 27.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, in room 27.
Thank you for
okay.
mentioning that. I just saw that after you said it. Thank you.
Who seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
So we're closed at 8.